Oh yeah, and then I just thought it was kind of comical how Elisha talks about, or well, the king talks about how much donkey's head they had to weigh out 2 pounds of silver for a donkey's head and 2 ounces for half a pint of seed pods.
Yeah.
And I was thinking times are so bad they got inflation in the Bible.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah. Well, where it's I mean, that's a part of that's even with the four horsemen and
Really?
well, yeah. I mean, that's actually a theme even in the prophets is the weighting of the scales, right? So,
Yeah.
when you're exchanging, making exchanges, and you've got you see this in the minor prophets, um, the accusation of messing with the scales
Okay. Yeah.
and waiting one more so it looks like it's so you're actually paying more. So
Right.
yeah, so inflation is dealt with in the Old and New
That's
Testament.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because it's like uh especially with the kind of the bartering system or let's say on the or silver standard or something like
Right.
that's what they're operating with and depending on which economy we're talking about within the Bible because there's a lot of economies in in the Old and New Testaments that we have
Right.
to deal with.
Yeah, especially in
There's
that
several
that
even
area.
right, I mean, the New Testament doesn't even cover that many years, there's still several economies at play,
Right.
right? The Judean economy, the Jerusalem economy, the larger Roman economy, um, but anyway, like there's always a sense of, there are people being accused of being unfair,
Right.
right? Even when Jesus enters the temple, right, the money changers are
Right.
being unfair,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, it is a thing.
Oh yeah.
Inflation, you can't escape.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's funny because at the end of 7, um, well, I guess it doesn't really say God did it, but he had the armies hear a sound, so they ran off
Yeah.
and they took all their food. So basically, God fixed inflation as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. If only.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting about you do see what's interesting, you say whether or not God did it, right? He does it, right?
Right.
He's the one who raises the axe head even. But it's interesting because again, if you go to back to chapter 6, and they've got this standoff, right? Um, between Syria and Israel, and Elisha is there, and uh, finally, um, let's go down to I don't know verse 15, 6 verse 15. When the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" He said, "Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And now they're surrounded, um, and by the enemy army, and Elisha's saying, "Don't worry about it. We'll be fine. There's
Right.
actually more of us than there are of them." And they're like, "No, there's not."
Right.
Right? And then Elisha prayed and said, "Oh Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." So the Lord opened his eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And when the Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed to the Lord and said, "Please strike this people with blindness." So he struck them with blindness in accordance with the prayer of Elisha. And Elisha said to them, "This is not the way, and this is not the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you ask." And he led them to Samaria, right? So, I mean, just there you see, like, Elisha's like operating in like a whole different world, like in
Right.
a whole different level than us. He's like, "Don't you see the chariots of fire
Yeah,
that are
it's
surrounding us?" And we're
crazy.
like, No, I don't know. I guess not."
What are you,
Right?
crazy?
Right? And I think it's interesting because you think like the chariots of fire that took up Elijah.
Right.
Like, did anyone else see those, or is that just
Yeah,
like Elisha is able
that's
to see this
true.
kind of thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, I mean, he's just operating on a whole different level
Right.
than than anyone before. Nobody's done
Right.
this before.
Yeah. It's almost like I mean, it's not him, but it feels like it is him because
Yes.
he just does it on his own will, it feels
Right.
like.
Well, that's like when John the Baptist and Jesus are out there and they're like, "All right." Even after like John has been killed by Herod, Herod's still like looking at Jesus and he's like, is that John the Baptist back from the dead? Is that Elijah? Is that
Right.
Jeremiah?
Yeah.
And it's like this kind of thing is not. I know that we read stories like this in Sunday school where there's like all these miraculous events and all this stuff going on, and there are plenty of miraculous events in the Old Testament,
Right.
but very few people in the Old Testament wield power like that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's not as common as we like to say it is. Again, the prophets, they're prophesying about things that are happening now or future events, but they're not
Yeah.
surrounded by flaming chariots, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, that's
Um, okay, and I had
okay.
one more question. So with Jehoram, where is that? Okay, yeah, so uh, it starts in 25,
Okay.
goes through 29.
Oh, sorry, what chapter?
Oh, chapter 8, sorry.
Oh, chapter 8. Okay. All right. Okay. Yep.
So Ahaziah was Jehoram's son. Um, well, maybe it was.
Um,
Okay, no, it was Jehoram. So it was 16,
okay.
chapter 8, verses
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
16
Yep.
through
Yep.
21. Um, what's the importance of Jehoram marrying into Ahab's family?
Oh, yeah. That's a bit. Hey,
I thought
all
that.
right. Look, I just have to say, kudos to you because that is so often missed. I think this is so important, and it's something that we don't talk about.
Right.
All right, so all right, let's read this. This is actually a huge deal
Okay.
because remember, at this point, what is the nature of the southern kingdom, the
Just
kingdom of
David.
Judah? Well, it's
Well,
it's the sons of David, but at this point, like they're pretty decent.
right,
Um, like they're like Jehoshaphat isn't a terrible guy. I mean, there's been some bad ones,
right.
but not like the Northern Kingdom. The Northern
Oh,
Kingdom
yeah.
is like terrible.
Yeah,
Like,
like off the
like
edge.
off, yeah, that's right. They're terrible. And who's one of the most terrible monarchs?
Ahab.
Ahab, and who's reigning right alongside of him? His wife
Oh,
Jezebel,
yeah, yeah.
right? And Ahab is an Israelite, but what about Jezebel?
Is she a Jezreelite or
Well, she's from like Tyre and Sidon,
okay.
right? So she's like a Phoenician. She's a Canaanite.
Okay,
They
yeah.
had to worship the Canaanite god.
Right,
So the Northern Kingdom was already in trouble from the very beginning, right? Because Jeroboam the first sets up these golden calves, right, in the
right.
northern part, and the
Yeah,
southern part, and like they're already in trouble no matter what. And then you get Jezebel who comes in and brings even more of the Baal worship and all that kind of stuff.
right.
And she's like bad news,
Oh, yeah.
right? She's going after Elijah. I mean, she has a terrible, bitter end, right? She gets thrown out the window and
Right.
is trampled by the horses and then eaten by the dogs, like I mean, she's a terrible, bitter end. Um, and so you get here, all right, in the fifth, this is chapter 8, verse 16.
Okay.
In the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, when Jehoshaphat was king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. Okay. And so, all right, so you get like this double monarchy. Jehoshaphat's reigning,
Right,
and now his son begins to reign also. And um, there is, this kind of, maybe this double reign happening, although it's not it's in Hebrew, but it's not in other languages. Anyway, that it's a double reign. That doesn't really matter a
oh, is
whole
that
lot.
there's like a word for that in Hebrew?
No, no, no.
Oh,
Like I think in like Hebrew, in Hebrew that is included when Jehoshaphat
okay.
was king of Judah. In other texts, it's not.
Okay,
So anyway,
okay.
that's what I say. I think in Hebrew it's depicted as a double reign, and maybe Greek it's not or something.
Right. I
Um,
got you.
okay, he was 32 years old when he became king and reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. All right, now at this point we haven't really seen a whole lot from the Southern Kingdom.
Right.
Really, the only stuff we've seen from the Southern Kingdom is when the Northern Kingdom stuff happens.
Yeah, and they
Right?
come in with Elisha.
That's right. And they
Yeah.
come in with
Or
Elisha,
Elijah.
and then well, they come in with Elisha, And all right, maybe it happens once with Elijah. It happens with Elisha, and the king of Judah's like, "Hey, that guy's a good prophet. Let's
Right.
bring in the good prophet,
Right.
right?" And the other guys, the king of Israel's like, you know, and,
Yeah.
um, so because Southern Kingdom still believes in Yahweh,
Right.
right? All right. So he was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as the house of Ahab had done. For the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. It's like, okay, the daughter of Ahab
Right.
means then that what? Was this the daughter of Jezebel?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know that Ahab has any other wives. I mean, he might as a king, but he's not that big of a deal as a king, so it's not like he's making all
Yeah.
these. So, so you've got kind of this thing where I don't think it's unreasonable to say, okay, now we've got Ahab's family, which is Jezebel's family,
Right.
and now their daughter is coming in and taking all the terrible stuff from there because they're just
Right.
they're so messed up, and taking it all from the northern kingdom and now bring it into the southern kingdom.
Right.
And now the southern kingdom is going to start to sour more.
That's okay. Yeah. That's what I
Right.
figured.
And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, yet the Lord was not willing to destroy Judah for the sake of David his servant, since he promised to give a lamp to him and to his sons forever. Remember, this is exactly what he says to Solomon, too.
Right.
Right? I'm not going to destroy it because all the terrible stuff you've done. I'm not going to destroy the kingdom, but it is going to divide. It's going to be in a lot of trouble. But I made a promise to David.
Right.
Right? Okay, in his days, Edom revolted from the rule of Judah and set up a king of their own. So Edom again is across the Jordan River. It's not that far away. And Edom, these are the descendants of Esau.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so Jacob and Esau. And so at this time, Judah was ruling over them.
Right.
Okay, but now he's saying, hey, you've left over me, so I'm actually gonna take your power away from Edom, and they're gonna have their own king.
So now, was this just because Jehoram, or just
Yeah,
like a
it
bunch
seems
of
to
other
be.
things? Okay.
Then Joram passed over to Zair with all his chariots and rose by night, and his chariot commander struck the Edomites who had surrounded him, but his army fled home. So Edom revolted from the rule of Judah to this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time, and now the rest of the acts of Joram and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? So we don't have that book. That's not
Right.
First and Second Chronicles. There was another book that existed at the time called the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah, which we don't have anymore. Okay, so Joram slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his place. Okay, now he. After this, like, it all just goes downhill.
Right.
Right now, so now the northern kingdom is in trouble. Now the southern kingdom is in trouble too. And you see the next Ahaziah, his son reigns. It says not. They've got this now. They've got these two ways of talking. Either a king is going to reign like their father David,
Right.
or the king is going to reign as the house of Ahab. And I think
Right.
it's very specific language, the house of Ahab, which it's like, I think that includes Jezebel,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Like it's not in the ways of Ahab, it's the house of
Right.
Ahab.
So the whole family.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's yeah. I think that's a turning point in the Southern Kingdom.
That's what
a
it felt
bad
like.
turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish we talked about that more, because I think that's it's how the entire monarchy now, the Northern and Southern Kingdom, are completely soured to Yahweh.
Right.
And now the Northern Kingdom is going to be taken up by the Assyrians, the Southern Kingdom by the Babylonians.
So now, was Aram the Syrians?
Well, they're a different people group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just kinda like
they're a different people
Right.
group. There's quite a few relatively similar people groups in the area. At the time.
Right.
Yeah. But Aram, yeah, it's in the same area.
Okay.
There.
Yeah. I got
Right.
you. Well, that's all I had for today.
Okay, very good. Well, I guess next time we'll pick up with number 9, or
Yeah,
number
Jehu.
9, chapter 9, and keep going from there. We will in chapter 9. That's when we do see Jezebel's death.
Okay.
Right. And then, gosh, making our way through Second Kings, it has 25 chapters.
Yeah.
So, we'll be getting close, kind of close to halfway through next time, maybe. But yeah, thank you for your
Oh
questions.
yeah. Thank you for answering.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.